Howdy guys, welcome back to another one. Today we're putting together a 15 pellet #1 buck shell in 16 gauge. This is about a 1.5 ounce load, so pretty heavy for 16 gauge. It's stepping up into, well, it is in the 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch mag territory on the bridge of 3 inch 12 gauge. Now this is true 30 cal #1. Guys, I wish that 16 gauge came in a 3 inch shell. It would make a load like this a lot more efficient to put together. Well, not efficient, but it would pattern better is what I was trying to get at. This is loaded conventional, meaning no shot cup. 30 cal #1 buck does fit in the BP 1680 wad and the CSD 16. Both of those are full length steel shot wads. Yeah, that would pattern a lot better. Those are stacked by 2s in those wads. And like I said, this is loaded conventional, no shot cup. They are stacked by 3s. Pellet stacked by 2s patterns a lot better, and being in a steel shot wad again will pattern a whole lot better. But we're limited to 2 3/4 inch shells in 16 gauge, or 2.5, or anything shorter than 2 3/4 really. So we got to work with what we got. Before moving along, you guys may have seen Josh wear this same shirt in a few videos at the range. Now, no, we don't share clothes. What happened there is we went out to eat. I believe it was a couple days before Christmas, and me, my wife, his wife, and him, obviously, we exchanged gifts at a Italian restaurant here in town. Well, just outside of town, but that's besides the point. Josh opened up his, and it was this purple shirt. He gave me mine, I opened it up, and guess what it was? The same purple shirt. That was a pretty good laugh. We ended up getting the exact same shirt. It's pretty funny. I just wanted to mention that before anyone asks, why are you wearing Josh's shirt? Well, I'm not. We ended up, again, getting the same shirt. Anyway, moving along, we are using a brand new 16 gauge Shadot hull. This one has a Shadot primer in it. These actually came unprimed, the clear ones, and I have some of them primed with Winchesters and some with Shadots. This one happens to have a Shadot CX2000. Next, we need some little gunpowder. We're using 32 grains of it. You can fold crimp this load, and if you fold crimp it, step down to 31 grains. Neither 32 or 31 grains are overpressure or max pressure, anything like that. It's just the 31 grain charge patterns better with a fold crimp. The 32 grain charge patterns better with a roll crimp. This one is folded, and it has 31 grains of little gun in it. You can see we have 15 pellets of #1 buck. We need the obturator 16 gas seal, and like the X12X or X10X, these are symmetrical. There is no top, there is no bottom. Load them either way. I dropped it in the floor. That's okay, I'll get it here in a second. Now, one problem with those obturator 16s is they are a little bit small in the Shadot and Fiocchi hulls. They fit fine in a Federal. They're also loose in a Rio, but yeah, if you're loading these on top of, say, a plastic wad, you need to use a paper towel, 1 inch square paper towel, or a napkin around the bottom of the gas seal, or just around the gas seal in general, to help seal the powder, prevent powder migration. But I'm using a waxed hard card on top of the gas seal here today, so we're not going to get any powder migration. The waxed hard cards actually fit really tight in these holes, so no need for the paper towel. Here's the waxed hard card. We're using roughly 1/4 inch of it, maybe just shy of 1/4 inch. It's between 1/8 and 1/4 anyway. But yeah, waxed hard card. You can also use fiber cushion wad or felt, cork, whatever you have. Just something to build up stack height and provide a little bit of cushion. I like the waxed hard card because they are a lot more sturdy. My camera just went all weird. Anyway, I don't know what that was, but yeah, these are a lot more sturdy than fiber cushion wad, so I like the waxed hard cards better. Next, we'll need a Mylar wrap. I'm using the Ballistic Products My Slim Mylar for small bores, but it does also work in the larger bores too. Wrap it up and set it either in a wad or just right over top the waxed hard card or fiber cushion wad, whatever you're using. That'll stop the hull from being torn up by the pellets. Shadot and Fiocchi hulls and Rios are very thin wall, and the pellets tend to tear them up, especially the larger pellets, but the Mylar wrap stops that. Not all the time, but 95% of the time it'll stop your hulls from being ripped up. And we don't want a one and done hull. Next is, of course, the 30 cal number 1. I have these powder coated green. They are tumbled and polished, wheel weight alloy, so really hard lead here. Should pattern really well. Lastly, besides the overshot card, we need some buffer if you want to use buffer. This stuff does help with patterns, especially at longer ranges. I'm using Ballistic Products ITX buffer. This has been rebranded to BSB. You could also use original mix number 47 or precision reloading buffer, or any buffer you want really, but I like Ballistic Products buffer. And for an overshot card, since I am roll crimping this one, is a clear 12 gauge overshot disc. All I've done to it is shaved it down with a file to fit 16 gauge. Not much at all had to come off. So anyway, let's actually get to putting this together. We need 32 grains of little gun. Again, if you're fold crimping this, step down to 31. Again, not that it's at near max pressure, anything like that. It's just the 31 grain charge. Pattern's a little bit better in our experience. Both of these fold crimp 31 grain charge will get about 1200 FPS. Roll crimp 32 grains, about 1200 FPS. So the speed's great with a heavy load like this. The Obturator 16 gas seal, and maybe you can see what I was talking about with a loose fit. Sometimes when I set these in here, yep, right there. See how it slid right down? Normally with a gas seal, it's a little bit of a tight fit. You got to push it down with your finger or a wad tamper. Well, with these, they kind of just fall down in place. They actually fit the old Winchester tapered hulls, the original AA style compression form one-piece hulls. They fit it pretty well, especially using powders like Blue Dot. Yeah, but anyway, waxed hard card. Again, if you're using a plastic wad over top the Obturator 16, you need to use a 1-inch square piece of paper towel or napkin to stop powder migration, but these actually fit pretty tight in here. No need for it. You can shake this hull up and you're not going to get any powder migration. The Ballistic Products My Slim Mylar wrap, all you do is roll it up and set it down in there. These could be a little bit taller. The My Thin Mylar for the larger bores, 12 and 10 gauge, they are a little bit too tall for this load. You do have to trim those down, but you can make do with a My Slim Mylar just fine. The top of the wrap comes up to right here. Ideally, you would want it up here though. 15 pellets of 30 cal number 1. Drop them right in there. They'll find their own way. Just like that. You can see we have enough room left to actually fold crimp this if we wanted to. And again, just to prove that, here's one that's fold crimped. So the lead payload weight alone is 1.38 ounces, which is exactly 1 3/8 ounces. With buffer, it's going to be a 1.44 ounce load, so right at 1.5 ounces, just shy of it. Alright, we have the top row of pellets peeking through the buffer. Total payload is, yep, 1.44 ounces. Throw on the clear overshot disc. If you don't have any of those, you can get bingo chips and shave those down to fit 16 gauge, 3/4 inch bingo chips, or a 5/8 inch one for 20 gauge. Those might work too. I don't have any to test out, but if you ain't got any of those, just get some 16 gauge nitro cards and take off one slice of it, and that'll work just fine as an overshot card. I like the plastic ones, like this clear overshot disc or a bingo chip, because those shatter upon firing. There's no chance the nitro card or just a plain overshot card can get in the way of the pellets and potentially knock them off course. To roll crimp this, I'll be using the Reloaders Network 4-pin 16 gauge roll crimp tool. They come in this 3D printed case here. This is what it looks like. Nice blued black, 16 right on it. This is my favorite roll crimp tool, just straight roll crimp tool. The GAP series does a little bit better job, but they tend to roast the hulls after you fire them. It makes such a tight crimp. It actually sort of burns the plastic in on itself. They wear out hulls pretty quick, but with these, you don't get that. The Reloaders Network roll crimp tools make a nice factory style crimp. The GAPs just put a heavier taper on the shells. That's the difference. The GAPs are more of a crimp finisher, fold crimp finisher. whereas the Reloaders Network is just a straight roll crimp tool. And to roll crimp this, I'm just using a hand drill. Now, Matt, you did send me a drill press. I haven't got it set up yet, but I'll get to using that pretty soon. Thanks, man. Well, guys, here's the end result. If you didn't know any better, didn't know it was 16 gauge, you would just think it was a 2 3/4 inch low brass 12 gauge. Yep, especially with that clear overshot card. Now, as far as I know, no one makes clear overshot cards or a plastic overshot card in general for 16 gauge. I could be wrong. If I am, correct me, but I've never seen them. But yeah, that makes it look like a 12 gauge shell to me. If you don't want to use number 1 buck for whatever reason, you can also use 12 pellets of 31 cal single aught here. 32 cal also fits fine, although it is a little bit tight stacked by 3s and 16 gauge, but it does work just fine. Fun fact here, the biggest size you can use in 16 gauge for buckshot anyway is 34 cal double aught plus. That's a great size, and it does fit 16 gauge stacked by 2s absolutely amazingly. It's just like loading the 375 cal quad buck in 12 gauge. You can also use number 4 buck here, 29 cal number 1, 27 cal number 2, whatever you want to use, as long as the payload is between 1 3/8 and 1.5 ounces. You can see them 3 pellets, that top row of pellets right there. That looks really, really cool to me. I gotta start using these clear overshot cards a lot more. Once again, guys, if you want to fold crimp this load, back the charge down to 31 grains, as you can see, it absolutely fits just fine. 16 gauge is my favorite shotgun gauge. I grew up shooting a Browning A5 Sweet 16, a legit Sweet 16. I love that gun. 16 gauge is just awesome to me. But anyway, guys, I think that'll do it for me. Please like and subscribe. We always appreciate that. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below, and we'll get back to you. And if you want to, go check out our Patreon. It's as low as $1 a month, and you guys get early access to content. A link to that, as well as a link to our Instagram and Rumble accounts, will be in the description below. But other than that, you guys take it easy, and we'll see you in the next one.